This world is not what you think it is. This world is not what you think it is. Oh, oh.
They want to attack me for not trusting criminals. Can you believe that?
Right. Yeah. Well, they don't want to think with you sometimes.
They want people attack me because I don't trust criminals.
Yeah.
That's why they attack me. I don't trust any information coming from a goddamn criminal.
Yeah.
And if you look at everybody will agree that the government is corrupt.
Yes.
Everybody, 100% of everybody will agree that the government is corrupt.
Yes.
And they're involved in criminal activities, right? Yet, like, and the government's definitely involved in, like, people have died because of the corruption in government, right? Everybody agrees.
I mean, there's so
right?
much proof, like Bay of Pigs,
everything.
Gulf of
There's so much proof. Operation Northwoods, even like people that like always defend the government, they will acknowledge that Operation Northwoods was real, where they were planning on. So when you look at the government is, if you narrow down the government to one person, it would be like, would you agree? It'd be like the government's kind of like not Arturo Gotti, John Gotti, right? Like a gangster.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Right.
Yeah,
right. So for me, it's very similar, right? So if you just, I'm trying to simplify it.
Mm-hmm.
If you just look at, like, I don't trust anything coming from John Gotti.
Yeah.
He's murdered motherfuckers. He's a shady gangster. That's how I perceive the government to be. So anytime I get information from the government, a government agency, whether it's NASA or whatever, NASA faked 6 moon missions, man. I mean, how are you going to believe anything from them?
Dude, I met Buzz Aldrin.
How are you going to believe anything from them?
I met Buzz Aldrin, and he seemed, no joke, like he hadn't fucking been to the moon, man.
Of course he has.
Dude. Because I try to like engage him, and this look in his eyes seems so like he was trying to just play a little bit of a part.
So I don't believe anything coming from,
I've never trusted the government,
I don't
dude.
believe anything. Then they say, well, what about space? I go, all our space information since 1958, that's when the NASA was formed in 1958, all our it was formed by Nazis. Werner von Braun, the director of all 6 fake moon missions, was one of Hitler's right-hand men. He was a fucking rocket scientist for Hitler, who was evil as fuck. He directed 6 moon missions. Masters of Propaganda directed
right, he'd
6
be the
moon
perfect
missions.
guy. He'd be the perfect guy to do that.
And when he died, he was like, he was on some deathbed confessional type shit. He told his assistant, he said, on his deathbed, according to her, he said, the fake alien invasion is coming. Like, the fake alien invasion is what they've been planning. That's what's going to scare everybody into a one world government. It's always been about a one world government, and the fake alien invasion, that'll get everybody together. Everybody will volunteer. We got to, the aliens are going to kill us. We got to all unite.
Yeah.
So that's been the plan, the fake, and that's what Werner von Braun said. And on his tombstone,
the strategy that Werner von Braun taught me was that first the Russians are going to be considered to be the enemy. In fact, when I met him in '74, they were the enemy, the identified enemy. We were told that they had killer satellites. We were told that they were coming to get us and control us, the dirty commies, that whole story. First, the Russians were the enemy against whom we're going to build space-based weapons. Then terrorists would be identified, and that was soon to follow. We heard a lot about terrorism. Then we were going to identify third world country crazies. We now call them nations of concern. But he said that would be the third enemy against whom we would be needing to build space-based weapons. And the next enemy was asteroids. Now, at this point, he kind of chuckled the first time he said it. Asteroids, against asteroids, we're going to build space-based weapons. So it was funny then. And the funniest one of all was against what he called aliens, extraterrestrials. That would be the final card. And over and over and over, during the 4 years that I knew him and was giving his speeches for him, he would bring up that last card. And remember, Carol, the last card is the alien card. We're going to have to build space-based weapons against aliens, and all of it, he said, is a lie.
On his tombstone, it has a psalm, whatever, like Psalm 8. I don't know, like the Bible verses, but it's a particular psalm in the Bible that talks about the firmament, which is what people believe that like
Around us.
there's a
Something is
dome,
around us,
there's a
yeah.
dome firmament. We're in an enclosed system. We're in a special place. Why the fuck would he have that on his tombstone? But it doesn't prove anything.
Right.
There's no proof. You
But
know,
it
but
just-
they have all the information. NASA. So when they're telling us that the sun is 93 million miles away, I'm like, that's what they say.
Yeah.
Like 93 million miles away. The sun looks 93 fucking million miles away.
It doesn't look that far away.
No, it doesn't look that far away.
It's interesting you say that too, because I mean, at the beginning of the year, the White House was releasing that alien footage. Remember, we even played.
Oh, yeah,
story.
I do
They're
remember
pushing
that.
it. They'll
Yeah,
put
they're
it on
pushing it.
CNN. They're
So,
pushing it.
yeah.
They're pushing all that. They're pushing.
So do you think that's the start of it?
I used to be a super fan of aliens in space. I threw all the DVDs away, but I had stacks and stacks. Me and Joe, we'd watch space documentaries all the fucking time, over and over and over. BBC, space therapy.
Yeah.
Over and over. All the space documentaries you could find, I would fucking videotape that shit. I was a space junkie. And every now and then, I wonder, it is kind of weird that 100% of these space documentaries are all CGI cartoons. None of it's footage from actual like satellites or anything like that. I thought that was kind of weird, but I'm like, oh, they got it all figured out. And then I continue to watch it, and then once the first distrust of the world was when I found out everybody wasn't Catholic, because I grew up in a Catholic neighborhood. Everybody was Catholic.
Yeah.
Everybody. Then once I realized, and I was an altar boy trying to get to fucking heaven. I go, I'm going to heaven.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
an altar boy, fucking going to church. I'm going to heaven. Fuck this place.
First round
And
draft.
then when I found out, dude, I would have been totally first round. I
could see that.
I was
Late first
hardcore.
round,
I'm
bro.
going to heaven. That
Late
was the
first
mission.
round, though.
Fuck this life. Then once I realized that not everybody's Catholic, I go, what's a Jew?
Yeah.
What's a Muslim? What's Hindu? I'm like, wait a minute. There's millions of people that aren't Catholic out there.
Then what's going to happen to them? What's going to happen to all of them?
How are we right? How do we know we're
Right.
right again? So right away, I became an atheist, like at 12 and 13.
Mm-hmm.
11, 12, 13. I'm like, fuck, there's no God. This is all bullshit.
Okay, well,
so that was my first taste of you can't trust authority. My second taste was at 15. At 15, I'm balls deep into Slayer.
Mm-hmm.
Balls deep into speed metal bands that write satanic lyrics. I didn't believe they were satanic. I didn't believe they were satanic at all. I just believed, we're just trying to scare people. I'm writing satanic lyrics. We're just trying to scare people. I don't even believe in God. I'm
It's like
atheist.
Halloween, kinda.
Yeah, exactly. It's
Yeah.
like dudes who are into writing movies like The Exorcist. You don't think the director of The Exorcist is satanic. You just think they're writing scary shit.
They love that shit.
I never looked at Slayer. I'm 15. I'm like, those motherfuckers aren't satanic. They're just writing scary shit, and it's cool. Upside down cross, cool. But then in 2020 was a show back in. They still.
Oh,
have
yeah, I
it.
remember 2020.
Everybody watched 2020. Back before the internet, they did a special on satanic music, and it was all about old ladies telling. Saying that if your kids are listening to Twisted Sister and Motley Crue,
Then they're hellbound.
and I was thinking, dude, you got the wrong fucking bands. It's not Twisted Sister. That's not satanic.
That's Dee Snider,
I go,
right?
You got to get into Bathory and Creator and Destruction.
Acid
That's
Bath.
the real. They weren't mentioning any of the
Yeah.
Merciful.
What about
Fate.
Acid Bath? You ever heard of them?
No. They were bringing up like Judas Priest and shit. I'm like, they are. So at that point, I thought, wow, these motherfuckers don't know shit.
They don't
And this
know
is
shit.
ABC.
Yeah.
They should have been talking about Slayer. Then I would have understood. I'd be like, yeah, because every song's about Satan. Yeah, I
Yeah.
get it. But they didn't talk about that shit. They were talking about like fucking Motley Crue.
So what do you then realize? Just how out of touch they are, or how much they're trying to control? How they're putting their spin?
You can't trust the mainstream. I was already not trusting them. The speed metal band I was in was called Resistance, and it was all about not trusting the government.
Okay, well then how about this? So say if like the world that we live in now, people talk about the Earth is round, or that or the Earth is flat, or that we're living inside of somebody else's creation. Like, why would they say something more powerful than us is created this world or controls us, that we're living in a controlled environment? Why would they let us start to think? This is what I wonder sometimes. Why do they let us start to realize it?
There's a.
Or do you think there's a glitch in the system?
No, there's a big movement trying to stomp out like flat Earth theory, like like any conspiracy theory that is out there. Say like 9/11, right? 9/11 for sure was an inside job. There's no doubt. If you look into it, it's no doubt. That's an inside fucking job. If you actually look into it,
Right.
So there's people being paid to put together debunk videos for 9/11. There's websites being made. There's like documentaries put on like Nat Geo and shit to debunk 9/11 was a inside job.
Oh, to debunk that it was an inside job.
Yeah, because the people who were responsible for it, those same people are putting out the information. So when you go to YouTube, for instance, you punch in 9/11 inside job, you're not going to get any of the real videos. They got the search engines control. That's smart.
Yeah.
So all the videos that come up are going to be video. Like if people are interested in 9/11, they're going to go. They're going to go. That's not real. Because the real shit won't come up for a long time.
Yeah.
So they got the search engines controlled, right? That's smart.
Yeah.
Easy to do, right?
Easy to do.
So any conspiracy theory, same thing. You like JFK. Even for JFK, go to YouTube. Go JFK, a conspiracy. Yeah. And you ain't gonna get no real shit. Not all the shit. The debunking shit comes up first.
Right.
Right. Same thing. And wouldn't it be smart too? Wouldn't it be smart for the people that like for 9/11, for instance, to start a website that said 9/11 inside job truth.com. Own that shit. Start talking about and sending people there, but meanwhile it's a debunker site.
Right.
Wouldn't that be a good idea?
Yeah.
That's what they do.
That's what they do.
That's what they do.
But
And they'll even have a documentary on cable that says 9/11 was it an inside job? Most people think, or a lot of people are now thinking that it's an inside job. Tonight at 11, we're going to investigate it. So it appears to be a
investigative.
Yeah, it's but it's not.
Human action resounds in the heavens. The bell echoes above. What we decide here today will polish or crack the firmament. What shall it be? Human action resounds in the heavens. The bell echoes above. What we decide here today will polish or crack the firmament. What shall it be?
When I was young, and in school, like most people, you hear they start telling you about the heliocentric model and what it is and everything, and these things, a couple of things always really bothered me about it the most. The first was, which has been a big subject in Flat Earth here recently, is how do we have a pressurized system next to an infinite vacuum without a barrier? Like, how does that work? It never made sense to me in school. That one always bothered me. I had to just let it go.
All right, let's try another pretty simple process. Let's just take a gas in some volume, V, and over here is going to be vacuum of equal volume, and we're going to remove the barrier. You know what's going to happen spontaneously, right? The gas is going to fill the available volume once it becomes available, right? You know what's going to happen spontaneously, right? The gas is going to fill the available volume once it becomes available.
So after Flat Earth, of course, and looking into it more, I tend to think that this is more what our Earth looks like. It's not correct, obviously, but to me, it makes sense that we would be living in an enclosed system. I mean, if you have a pet or anything, you make them. What do? You make them a nice little habitat, something that's going to protect them from anything that could possibly come from the outside, right? So I feel like this is probably our habitat.
There is a firmament or dome encasing our flat plane. The firmament is described in the Bible's creation narrative. Then God said, "Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters." In Egyptian mythology, Nut is the goddess of the sky. She is seen star-covered, arching over the earth, representing its dome. In Greek mythology, Uranus was the primeval god of the sky. The Greeks imagined the sky as a solid dome of brass, whose edges descended to rest upon the outermost limits of the flat earth. Uranus was the literal sky, and Gaia the earth. In the Roman era, he was often depicted as Aeon, god of eternal time, in the form of a man holding the zodiac wheel, standing above Gaia. The Hebrews believed the sky was a solid dome. They called this solid vault of heaven the Rakia, with the sun, moon, and stars beneath. In Indian mythology, the dome is called Brahmanda. This is the structure of the world according to Finnish mythology, showing a dome with the stars projected onto it. In the Aboriginal conception of the world, the earth was circular and flat, covered by the dome of the sky, which stretched out to the horizon. And there have been many ancient artifacts found, which the mainstream has called stone handbags. But as you can see, there's no area to even carry anything. These were not handbags, they're artistic depictions of the dome here on flat Earth. So many ancient peoples knew about this dome and wove it into their worldview. The elite would have us believe that these are just made-up cosmologies, invented by peoples who were too scientifically ignorant to understand reality. But there is no coincidence that the same description of a flat Earth and dome is so common. These cultures around the world had special knowledge about the nature of this place we are living in.
Open fire! Get people trapped in here!
We're on our own.
What are you telling us? We're trapped like rats?
To prevent your poisons from spreading, your government has sealed you all within this dome.
Whatever it is, it cut off all our roads.
Not just the roads, the whole town.
Who's hurt? Raise your hands. Without the attitude?
Our best guess puts the dome at 20,000 feet, sir.
Did he just call it a dome?
You think we might be stuck in here a while?
I think that even if what's wrong suddenly becomes right, the Army's just gonna quarantine this place.
I want roving death squads around the perimeter 24/7. I want 10,000 tough guys.
Should we tell him the truth?
10! I have an urgent note from the president. It says to release this town immediately.
Why is it written on a leaf?
What ruthless madmen could have done this to us?
Why Chester's Mill? Why us?
Maybe we're being punished.
We're all on the same side.
Just see who your friends are and who isn't.
Oh, you good pig!
I can't hear you.
Looks like we're stuck in a giant fishbowl. I used to have fish, but then one of them got sick, and the other one ate him.
It's amazing no one was hurt.
Bye, everybody!
Earth is not a closed system.
Gas dome.
The Earth is a closed system.
Glass dome.
Earth is not a closed system.
Gas dome.
The Earth is a closed system.
Glass dome.
Earth is not a closed system.
Gas dome.
The Earth is a closed system.
Glass dome, get it? Glass dome, gas dome, are you with me?
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
Now, one thing I really want your generation to embrace is that the Earth is a closed system.
The Earth is a closed system.
We cannot leave the Earth. There's no place to go.
Because the thing is, the scientists are literally saying that they're bouncing signals off of the sky. Now, their excuse is saying it's a shell of electrically charged particles, but this seems to be their excuse and their only way to describe what they are witnessing. Because if you think about it with common sense, the air is supposed to be thinner the farther you go up. And so how are they possibly bouncing signals off of the sky? You see, satellites do not exist. They're just bouncing signals off this reflective dome firmament. The reflective properties of the dome firmament is part of the reason why you see rainbows, sundogs, and more. Because according to my research, the dome is most likely some form of reflective material.
And it may be hard to see tonight, but we are all standing under a glass ceiling right now.
Something really strange going on about 100 kilometers up. And it's not really talked about much. I think the Wild Heretic website's gone into this quite well. I want to accentuate it. Now, the thermosphere starts around 100 kilometers up. This is sort of the area where NASA seem to have a lot of trouble. But that's for another subject. What happens at 100 kilometers up? It goes from around minus 50, 60 degrees, which is pretty cold, to well over 200 degrees in a really thin layer of altitude, all around 100 kilometers up. What would cause this drastic change of temperature? What could do this? What could be there? I mean, I've personally not seen enough evidence to suggest anything's even gone past this 100 kilometer range, but that's for another time. Now, the ionosphere is around 60 kilometers up to 600 kilometers up, and it's full of ionized radiation. And many communication technologies bounce off this. They bounce off whatever's going on around 100 kilometers up. So it's like there's a layer there. Even the Northern Lights, they start at 100 kilometer up as well. They never come below 100 kilometers. And they go up to around 120 kilometers usually, but can go up to 500 kilometers.
This is a quote from an article taken from ibtimes.com, and I've got the link there for that. It says, the Earth is protected from fast-moving killer electrons by an invisible plasma shield.
Impossible radio transmissions in 1915 where essentially the entire world could hear a transmission. That was before satellites, obviously. Okay. First transmission of the BBC Empire Service was broadcast on the 19th of December 1932 from this building. And it shows here basically all the places it could hear. Okay. 1915, Arlington, Virginia. They're able to hear this message, this transmission, in Europe, Hawaii, which is basically impossible, okay, without satellites, allegedly, allegedly without satellites. So it's kind of curious why they were able to do that. It kind of defies heliocentrism, considering that we're allegedly on a convex ball. There's no way for those radio transmissions going in a straight line to curve around the Earth, right? And even if you have the bounce effect that they allegedly, and they don't even explain that right. Even if you take into consideration like AM radio and the bounce effect and all this type of stuff, and other types of frequencies that can bounce off the alleged ionosphere, which is another quandary right there. How does it bounce off this mysterious ionosphere? Why does everything bounce off this ionosphere? You know, the Kármán line.
High above the Earth's atmosphere, harmful electrons that make up the outer band of the Van Allen radiation belt travel at nearly the speed of light, pelting everything in their path. Exposure to such high-energy radiation can harm satellite electronics and pose serious health risks to astronauts. However, despite their intense energy, these electrons circling around the planet's equator cannot come below 7,200 miles from the Earth's surface due to the shield, scientists said. It's almost like these electrons are running into a glass wall in space. Daniel Baker of the University of Colorado Boulder and the study's lead author said,
in 1947, during Operation High Jump, Admiral Byrd discovered the outer boundaries of the firmament. Many of his men's planes were disappearing very quickly. A lot of them were crashing into invisible barriers and disintegrating in mid-flight. It was shortly after discovering this barrier that Byrd discontinued his mission and returned home. What happened is Byrd's planes encountered the walls of the vaulted dome. Soon after, many measures like the Antarctica Treaty and a consistent military presence at the ice wall were put in place to cover up the structure of our enclosed world system, while also preventing unwarranted intrusion, which could lead to an announcement of the discovery of the Earth's dome.
And in that film we show footage of the Navy planes landing in these lakes. But even more so, he found, to his amazement, that his planes were disappearing very quickly. A lot of them crashed into invisible barriers and disintegrated in mid-flight. This is an indication that the Germans had already perfected the force field shields, and they were up and operational around the German colony at Neuschwabenland.
Somewhat like the shields created by force fields in Star Trek that were used to repel alien weapons, we are seeing an invisible shield blocking these electrons. It's an extremely puzzling phenomenon. The invisible shield, dubbed the plasmaspheric hiss, is made up of very low frequency electromagnetic waves in the Earth's upper atmosphere and ultimately disappear. It's a very unusual, extraordinary, and pronounced phenomenon, John Foster, Associate Director of MIT's Haystack Observatory, said in a statement. What this tells us is if you parked a satellite or an orbiting space station with humans just inside this impenetrable barrier, you would expect them to have much longer lifetimes. That's a good thing to know.
I guess I'm up against the highest, hardest stained glass ceiling.
The latest study is based on data collected by NASA's Van Allen probes that are orbiting within the harsh environments of the Van Allen radiation belt. Oh, you mean the one that they just flew through, no problem, back in the 60s? Huh, in the 70s?
We went right out through them. No effects on your cells? Didn't even know it. I don't think anybody, well, maybe somebody said you went through the radiation belt, but we didn't feel it inside.
During the study, the researchers observed an, quote, exceedingly sharp barrier, end quote, against harmful electrons, which was steady enough to withstand a solar wind shock in October 2013. To determine what could create and maintain such a barrier, the researchers considered a few possibilities, including effects from the Earth's magnetic field and radio signals from human transmitters on Earth. Oh yeah, it's our Walkman that's causing this. Whatever. You know, and there's another article I should post where they're saying they basically want to poke a hole or blow up or eliminate even the Van Allen belts. Okay, check this out. February 27, 2014, okay, last year. Physicists plan to wipe out Earth's Van Allen belt with radio waves. Got a depiction here of the Van Allen belts, what they look like here. It was just last year that physicists thought they had found the origin of Earth's Van Allen radiation belts. And now a prominent group of them wants those belts dead. It might seem odd to hear scientists propose destroying a feature of the natural world, but there is a decent scientific argument to be made that these belts provide us nothing useful and that we could lose them without a single negative effect. This place was created with these things around us for a reason. Okay, and these knuckleheads, hey, I think we should just blow it up. I don't really think it's important. I don't know what it does, so let's blow it up. And it's not the first time. Okay, let's put the chronology here. You got again, Operation High Jump 46 through 47, Operation Deep Freeze 55 to 56. He dies in 57. NASA's formed in 1958. Then after Operation Deep Freeze and whatever weirdness took place down there, everybody leaves Antarctica, and they go and form this Antarctic Treaty and put that into place in 1961. The original signatories were the 12 countries active in Antarctica during the International Geophysical Year 1957 to 58. The 12 countries that had significant interest in Antarctica at the time were Argentina, Australia, Belgium, Chile, France, Japan, New Zealand, Norway, South Africa, the Soviet Union, the United Kingdom, and of course the United States. These countries had established over 50 Antarctic stations for the International Geophysical Year. The treaty was a diplomatic expression of the operational and scientific cooperation that had been achieved on the ice. Something happened down there after Operation Deep Freeze, and presumably about the time that Admiral Byrd died. So all these nations that I just talked about here, they leave there, they come back, they sign this Antarctic Treaty. At the same time, NASA is formed, and right away, the United States and Russia start launching high-altitude nuclear bombs in the atmosphere. Now, I can see why the people will put on a conspiracy hat at this point, because if they're trying to avoid a conspiracy, they're not helping with the names. You've heard me say it before. I'm going to say it again. You know, you got Operation High Jump, Operation Deep Freeze. NASA's formed. They signed this Antarctic Treaty. And then when you look at the high-altitude nuclear bomb tests that began here, I'm going to go ahead and read Operation Dominic here. Operation Dominic was a series of 31 nuclear test explosions with a 38.1 megaton total yield conducted in 1962 by the United States in the Pacific. This test series was scheduled quickly in order to respond in kind to the Soviet resumption of testing after the tacit 1958-61 test moratorium. Most of these shots were conducted with free-fall bombs dropped from B-52 bomber aircraft. 20 of these shots were to test new weapons designs, 6 to test weapons effects, and several shots to confirm the reliability of existing weapons. The Thor missile was also used to lift warheads into near space to conduct high-altitude nuclear explosion tests. These shots were collectively called Operation Fishbowl. Operation Dominic occurred during a period of high Cold War tension between the United States and the Soviet Union, since the Cuban Bay of Pigs invasion had occurred not long before. Nikita Khrushchev announced the end of a 3-year moratorium on nuclear testing on 30 August 1961, and Soviet tests recommenced on 1 September, initiating a series of tests that included the detonation of Tsar Bomba. President John F. Kennedy responded by authorizing Operation Dominic. It was the largest nuclear weapons testing program ever conducted by the United States and the last atmospheric test series conducted by the U.S., as the Limited Test Ban Treaty was signed in Moscow the following year. Now, check this out. If you click on Operation Fishbowl, we learn about Operation Fishbowl here. It was a series of high-altitude nuclear tests in 1962 that were carried out by the United States as part of the larger Operation Dominic nuclear test program. The Operation Fishbowl nuclear tests were originally planned to be completed during the first half of 1962, with 3 tests named Bluegill, Starfish, and Orca. The first test attempt was delayed until June. Planning for Operation Fishbowl as well as many other nuclear tests in the region, was begun rapidly in response to the sudden Soviet announcement on 30 August 1961 that they were ending a 3-year moratorium on nuclear testing. The rapid planning of very complex operations necessitated many changes as the project progressed. All of the tests were to be launched on missiles from Johnston Island in the Pacific Ocean north of the equator. Johnston Island had already been established as a launch site for United States high-altitude nuclear tests rather than the other locations in the Pacific Proving Grounds. In 1958, Lewis Strauss, then chairman of the United States Atomic Energy Commission, opposed doing any high-altitude tests at locations that had been used for earlier Pacific nuclear tests. His opposition was because of fears that the flash from the nighttime high-altitude detonations might blind civilians who were living on nearby islands. Johnston Island was a remote location more distant from populated areas than other potential test locations. In order to protect residents of the Hawaiian Islands from flash blindness or permanent retinal injury from the bright nuclear flash, the nuclear missiles of Operation Fishbowl were launched generally toward the southwest of Johnston Island so that the detonations would be farther from Hawaii. Araka was to be a test of about 1 megaton yield at very high altitude, above 1,000 kilometers. The proposed Araka test was always controversial, especially after the damage caused to satellites by the Starfish Prime detonation, as described below. Araka was finally canceled, and an extensive reevaluation of the Operation Fishbowl plan was made during an 82-day operations pause after the Bluegill Prime disaster of 25 July 1962, as described below. And you could go on and read about Kingfish and all this stuff. Okay, so we got Operation Dominic, within which we have Operation Fishbowl. Now, with the tinfoil hat on, playing conspiracy theory here, the flat earthers are claiming, and I think it's a reasonable claim, that, you know, if that model is true, then we know we have a circle, the circle of the earth as described in the Bible, surrounded by Antarctica, the outer rim, that has a 200 or 300 foot ice wall, cliff, that keeps everything in, hence Operation High Jump. You got to get over that, right? So it looks like, at least from the flat earther perspective, that probably during Operation Deep Freeze, they may have found the edge of the dome, presumably anywhere from 800 to 1,200 miles inland from the coast. Then everybody pulls out, signs this treaty, says nobody can go back except under the express guidelines of the international community that signed the treaty. So then all of a sudden the United States and Russia engaged in these high altitude nuclear tests, and the United States calls theirs Operation Dominic, within which we have Operation Fishbowl. Now hold that thought. This is all happening. If you go and look on the Operation Dominic entry, you see the different dates. We're 1962. This is the early part of 1962. We're talking May. I mean, look at all these bombs going off. 25 April, 1962, 27 April, 2 May, 4 May, 6 May, 8 May, 9 May, 11 May, 11 May, 12 May, 14 May, 19, etc., etc., etc. Maybe they found a dome and they started to question all that. So the first thing they do is send out probes to go, wait a minute, what in the world? If we're in a dome, how high does this thing go? So they start launching high altitude nuclear bombs. And if you look at the videos on Operation Fishbowl and Starfish Prime and all those high altitude tests, I mean, it looks like they're hitting something up there. Dominic, D-O-M-I-N-I-C. Look up Dominic, D-O-M-I-N-I-C, from the late Latin name Dominicus, meaning of the Lord. Fishbowl was part of Operation Dominic. It looks like they are sending high altitude nuclear bombs to test the fishbowl of the Lord, i.e. the firmament. Yeah, this is definitely one of those things to make you go,
Although we weren't able to shatter that highest hardest glass ceiling this time, thanks to you. It's got about 18 million cracks in it.
In the exact same time period, Russia is also testing the dome. The Soviet Union's K project was a group of 5 nuclear tests conducted in 1961-62. They were all high-altitude tests fired by missiles of the Kasputin Yar launch site in Russia.
So, a lot of you guys think I am a FBR. Not FDR, FBR. FDR is Franklin Delano Roosevelt. FBR is full-blown retard for entertaining the thoughts of flat Earth or us living in a dome. And I'm going to show you tonight why I do. And I'm still not saying we live in it under a dome at all. But there is a mystery going on with that moon. Let's talk about the dome. And there is a level of intelligence where any talk of flat Earth or living under a dome sounds insane. You have to understand it could mean a million things. It could be literal. It could be metaphorical. There's something going on. So I was thinking about Disney. Thinking a lot about Disney. You ever think about the symbol of Disney World? What is that? What's that thing over the castle? What the hell is that? And I asked friends, what is that thing over Disney World? So I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, what is that? I'll tell you what that is. It's a dome. I was like, is it just that? No. Disney World is under a dome. And right now you got just trust me, right? Trust me for a little bit. Trust me for a little bit. Because right now you're thinking, oh, Big Bear, that's simply a rainbow, or maybe it's a fairy wings. That is a dome. And why does it matter? Why does that matter? Why does all this dome imagery matter? Because Walt Disney was best friends with Wernher von Braun, the guy who started NASA, the guy who designed the Saturn rocket that allegedly went to the moon. We never went to the moon. Oh, that's just one picture? No. Walt Disney and Wernher von Braun were literally best friends. They worked together all the time. Why is that important? Oh, Wernher von Braun was a scientist who built the Saturn rocket that got us to the moon. On his tombstone, Wernher von Braun has one thing, Psalm 19:1. Well, what does that mean, Big Bear? I'll tell you. The heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament showeth his handiwork. The firmament is a dome. That's interesting. How do people not find this interesting? The Disney symbol is the world under a dome. Disney was best friends with the guy who said, quote unquote, to get to the moon, we would need a rocket ship the size of the Empire State Building and then refuel. There was no way they were getting to the moon. Wernher von Braun was a genius Nazi that we got from Operation Paperclip, and he's the father of NASA, right? He's also best friends with Walt Disney. And on his tombstone is one biblical passage, just one. The heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament showeth his handiwork. Firmament is a dome.
What's past there?
Don't know. We're not allowed to fly past that.
So many secrets.
Imagine what you'll know tomorrow.
Once, when I was looking at that mist, even though they tell us there's nothing close to the edge, I thought I saw a tree out there somewhere.
It's some kind of map.
Over the edge. Over again.
See the plan?
What's past there? What's past the outer edge, boundary of memory?
A mystery.
Boundary of memory. Is that what they built so the memories would only stay within you and me?
I know the truth.
Where are you?
You could call it the end of the world.
My dad once told me the world was flat. Where I'm looking, son, he said, where I'm looking, the world is flat. I believed him. I still do.
Truman.
What do they want?
Listen to me. Everybody knows that. Everybody knows everything you do. They're pretending, Truman. Do you understand? Everybody's pretending.
Your entire history is an illusion, a fabrication, as it is with all of us.
This is how they found the island.
First, there was darkness. Then came the strangers. They abducted us and brought us here. This city, everyone in it, is their experiment.
It's fake. It's all for you.
I don't understand.
And the sky and the sea, everything. It's a set. It's a show.
Well, why the big secret? People are smart. They can handle it.
A person is smart. People are dumb, panicky, dangerous animals, and you know it.
I don't know what to think, Marlon. Maybe I'm losing my mind, but it feels like the whole world revolves around me somehow.
1,500 years ago, everybody knew the Earth was the center of the universe. 500 years ago, everybody knew the Earth was flat. And 15 minutes ago, you knew that people were alone on this planet.
Come on, Truman. Who hasn't sat in the John, had an imaginary interview on Sea Haven tonight? Who hasn't wanted to be somebody? This is different. Everybody seems to be in on it.
You say they brought us here. From where?
Sorry. I don't remember. None of us remember that. What we once were. What we might have been. Somewhere else.
Skylar, I was medicated. I mean, I could have said the world was flat.
You know what I think? I think you accidentally told the truth.
Where's there to go?
BG.
Imagine what you'll know tomorrow.
Stop the truck! Stop!
Now you know the truth.
There is no ocean, John. There is nothing beyond the city. The only place home exists is in your head.
It's our world now!
Oh my God.
Force field. It's a dome. We're at the edge of the arena.
Humans, for the most part, don't have a clue. They don't want one or need one either. They're happy. They think they have a good bead on things.
This is so awesome.
I know, right? You know what? I don't want to open up our world. I want to close our world. Build a dome over it.
But if you don't want to meet any new people, why'd you agree to go out with them?
Because Carrie can't know about the dome.
It'll take a long time, a real long time. What if you get all the way up there and there's nothing?
What if there's everything?
Timon,
Yeah?
ever wonder what those sparkly dots are up there?
You feel like you've been down the same road.
Dad?
Lost power.
Woohoo!
Bringing the ocean itself down into the stadium. Oh, Simpson just broke this dream's reality wide open.
Break the big hard glass ceiling.
Jimmy, let's help her out here. Let's break the glass ceiling.
Glass dome. Earth is not a closed system. Gas dome. The Earth is a closed system. Glass dome. Get it? Glass dome, gas dome. Are you with me?
And we're going to remove the barrier. The gas is going to fill the available volume. Take a gas, and over here is going to be vacuum, and we're going to remove the barrier. You know what's going to happen spontaneously, right? The gas is going to fill the available volume, fill the available volume, fill the available volume, fill the available volume.
I tend to think that this is more what our Earth looks like. It's not correct, obviously, but to me it makes sense that we would be living in an enclosed system. I mean, if you have a pet or anything, you know, you make them. What do? You make them a nice little habitat, something that's going to protect them from anything that could possibly come from the outside, right? So I feel like this is probably our habitat.
We cannot leave the Earth. There's no place to go.
Wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up.
This world is not what you think it is. This world is not what you think it is.